Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez.
We turn now to new revelations in the fire that killed at least 111 workers in a garment factory in Bangladesh used by several Walmart suppliers. It was the worst industrial accident in the country's history. First, we turn to the voices of some of the young women seamstresses who escaped the inferno late last November on a Saturday night as they rushed to meet holiday orders from overseas customers.
How the factory caught fire, I don't know that, but when we heard fire, we all rushed and were trying to get out of the factory. The factory worker broke a window, and one of the workers pulled me through the window. Immediately after the fire broke, we tried to run out, but the door was locked. When the floor became dark because of smoke, the boys rescued me.
When the building caught fire, I didn't know, and many of us didn't know, because soon after the fire, the total floor was full of smoke, and we couldn't see anything then, and there was a chamber. We ran there, and all the workers broke the windows of the chamber, and we all could get out through that window.
Survivors said an exit door at the factory was locked, fire extinguishers didn't work, and that when the fire alarm went off, their bosses ordered them to stay at their sewing machines. Many victims were trapped or jumped to their deaths from the 8-story building, which had no emergency exits or fire escapes. More than 50 of the bodies retrieved were burned so badly they could not be identified, and reports showed a document posted on Tazreen Fashion's website indicated that an ethical sourcing official for Walmart had flagged violations and/or conditions which were deemed to be high risk at the factory.
After the fire, Walmart said it fired the suppliers that subcontracted work to Tazreen Fashion, said that they were using the factory without its approval. But critics say inspection reports discovered in the Tazreen factory, which were obtained by the New York Times from a labor rights group, underscore fundamental problems with Walmart's supply chain in Bangladesh, allowing it to avoid addressing safety problems. Shortly after the fire, Democracy Now! Spoke with Kalpona Akhtar, a labor organizer with the Bangladesh Center for Worker Solidarity, who visited the factory and took pictures of the charred clothing labels she found there, including the Walmart brand Faded Glory.
Now, after burning and 112 or 120 workers dead, they cannot just wash their hand and say that, okay, we will not do any business with them. They have to be with this factory and improve the safety standards in that factory. That is our demand.
Well, for more, we're joined by the reporter following much of this. Stephen Greenhouse has been the labor and workplace reporter for the New York Times since October 1995, where he's long covered Walmart as part of his beat, including an exposé of how Walmart stores in the United States locked in their workers at night. His latest piece on the fire at Walmart's supplier in Bangladesh is called As Walmart Makes Safety Vows. It's seen as obstacle to change. Stephen Greenhouse, welcome to Democracy Now! It's good to have you back. Lay out your findings. What most surprised you?
So I worked with our reporter in South Asia, Jim Yarley, and we found several surprising revelations in investigating Walmart's relationship with this Tazreen factory. First, we obtained a series of inspection reports that showed that over nearly a year, Walmart suppliers continued doing work in this factory, even though it was found to have many serious safety problems. Each report found a lack of fire extinguishers. Several reports found lack of smoke detectors. There was a lack of fire alarms and fire hose pipes on the factory's 4th and 5th floors. Each report found, partially blocked access to exit routes. One of the big revelations we found in our investigative report was that one of the main monitoring companies, inspection companies for Walmart, admitted that we don't even check whether factories have emergency exits, whether they have fire escapes or fireproof, smoke-proof enclosed staircases. And this factory did not have outdoor fire escapes, did not have enclosed staircases. It had 3 staircases which all led down to the ground floor where the fire had begun. So you're really screwed if you're in a factory and have to go down staircases that lead right to where the fire was. Another revelation we found was that while the CEO of the company, Mike Duke, gave a major address at the Council of Foreign Relations saying that we, Walmart, will not use unsafe factories, it turns out that the company's head of ethical sourcing sent a letter around to other retailers 2 weeks earlier saying, we acknowledge that our audits, our inspections are inadequate on fire and electrical safety. And I think this dovetails with what this inspection company said, that we don't even check for fire.
We actually have a clip of the Walmart president and CEO, Mike Duke, speaking in New York last month. He was greeted by protesters who were upset in part about the deadly Tazreen factory fire. This is a Bloomberg LP president, Dan Doctoroff, introducing Duke at a meeting hosted by the Council on Foreign Relations.
I want to first of all congratulate all of you for making it through the enthusiastic crowds outside. I'm told that the last person who received such a welcome was Muammar Gaddafi. But
And here's a comment Walmart president and CEO Mike Duke made during his interview, responding to a question about anger over the lack of fire safety at its suppliers like the Tazreen factory.
Over the recent years, Walmart has made the factories in Bangladesh and in other countries around the world safer, particularly in this area of fire safety. You know, back a few years ago, I'd say in 2010, we had a very serious focus in Bangladesh on fire safety. As a matter of fact, in 2010, we had 94 factories that we stopped doing business with. We decertified and said we would no longer have product produced in those particular factories. I believe we had 23 other factories that corrected and moved up their standards in the area of fire safety and made some progress with some other factories. In 2011, there was even more progress made, and we worked with other organizations and other retailers to raise the bar and did a tremendous amount of training across the country. I believe over 3,000 factories went through the training that was developed, including fire safety and the standards even for the associates to know. And then in 2012, even raising the bar more with even additional audits and additional focus. You know, and unfortunately, you know, this particular factory was one of the ones that had been decertified and was one that Walmart did not use as an authorized. Yeah, I will tell you that the particular supplier, when we found out, had used an unauthorized factory. We took swift action. We terminated our relationship with that supplier, would no longer purchase any product. But with all of that, we're still stepping back again and saying, what else can we do?
Steve Greenhouse, your response to this Walmart's claim of its efforts to assure safety in Bangladesh?
Walmart is taking some efforts not to use unsafe factories, but a lot of critics, both here in the United States and in Bangladesh, say it's not doing nearly enough. You know, while it might have left 94 factories that it deemed unsafe, then again, the critics say it goes to other factories that are often also unsafe. And if a Walmart inspector finds a factory unsafe, it usually takes at least 18 months, or 3 orange ratings over 18 months, over 2 years, for Walmart to exclude the factory. And some critics say Walmart kind of plays a shell game. It's in these factories a year or two until they're deemed unsafe, and then it will go to another factory. In 2010, Juan, there were 2 very bad factory fires in Bangladesh, one in which 21 died, one in which 29 died, including people jumping from the 8th and 9th floors, just like the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire in New York City in 1911, where 146 people died about a mile or 2 from here.
Also young women. Also
young women, absolutely. And one thing that amazed me and disappointed me in investigating the Tazreen, factory is that we have all these American companies doing business in Bangladesh in factories that don't have some of the most basic, safety mechanisms, like fire escapes, like enclosed staircases. And I wonder how companies say we only want to use safe factories when, anyone who knows the least amount about factory safety will say, especially in as flammable places as an apparel factory, will say, we need, you need fire escapes, you need enclosed staircases. Also, after the horrific fires in 2010, there was an emergency meeting held in Bangladesh in April 2011, where labor groups, Bangladesh government people, Bangladesh manufacturers, Bangladesh NGOs, and retailers like Walmart, Sears, Target participated. And we obtained the minutes of the meeting, and there Walmart spoke out against proposals for the Western retailers, the deep-pocketed retailers, to really finance the needed corrective actions to ensure fire safety in the factories. Walmart said, we just, it's not financially feasible, we can't afford it. People I've interviewed said it wouldn't really cost that much to make the 4,500 factories safe. They estimated it would cost about $3 billion over 5 years, $600 million a year, which is just like 3% of the cost of the annual amount of garment exports. So that would just raise, like a $20. It would raise the cost of, say, a $20 shirt by a few cents.
The importance of Bangladesh to the world production chain of garment, especially in the garment in garments, to Sears, to Targets, to Walmart, so all these major companies.
Yeah.
We often think that China is, the humongous exporter of garments, and it is. But more and more companies, apparel companies, are leaving China and sourcing instead in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is now the world's second largest exporter of apparel. It exports $19 billion worth of apparel, for Walmart, for Target, for H&M. For Tommy Hilfiger. An interesting thing now is that Tommy Hilfiger, the parent company of Tommy Hilfiger, PVH, and this German retailer, Chibo, have embraced a really important plan to try to assure factory safety. They have promised to, really pay for the needed factory improvements, at various garment plants, and have independent inspectors look at the plants, and if the inspectors find that the safety situation is adequate, then these companies will step up and pay for the improvements. They're saying, it's just two of us, we won't really make this plan operational until we get two other companies to join us, and they're pushing very, very hard for Walmart and other companies to join them. Walmart, Mike Deuce says Walmart is a leader in factory safety. People point to this April 2011 meeting where Walmart, as the 800-pound gorilla, so to speak, in many ways blocked an important plan. I think of the movie Lincoln, where Lincoln says, "I am clothed in immense power." And I often think Walmart, in the world of retailing, in the world of apparel, is clothed in immense power. And Walmart really has the ability, if it wants, to really turn things around to be a game changer in Bangladesh, and it wouldn't cost the company that much, and it could save many, many lives.
As you write, Steve, Walmart buys more than $1 billion in garments from Bangladesh each year, attracted by the country's $37 a month minimum wage, the lowest in the world, $37 a month. What about union organizing in Bangladesh? Of course, we can ask about it when it comes to Walmart in the United States as well.
You had Kalpana Akhtar on. She's an impressive, very active union organizer. She heads the Bangladesh Center for Worker Solidarity. And there is a workers' movement in Bangladesh. There was a big fight 2-3 years ago to raise the minimum wage, which I think was just $20, $25. They got it all the way up to $37, which is still quite low. There's a lot of ferment in Bangladesh. There's a lot of resistance to unionizing individual plants. One of the nation's foremost union organizers, Aman al-Islam, was found murdered 6-8 months ago. My colleague Jim Yardley did a very moving story about his death, and his piece points to perhaps government folks or business folks perhaps hiring someone to murder him. And I think, as we see sometimes in the United States, a lot of workers in Bangladesh are scared to stick their necks out and support a union because they might get in trouble, they might get fired.
Finally, as we wrap up, we did invite Walmart on, as we did in our previous segments. They didn't come on. But you have said Walmart's calling on factory owners to make fixes. But people say owners are on razor-thin margins because the company pays such low prices so they can't pay for the correction.
Yes, when Jim Yardley and I researched the article, we spoke to some factory owners, and they say, we're paid such low prices by Walmart and other Western buyers, Western retailers, that we can't afford the $500,000, $300,000 in investments in fire escapes and enclosed staircases. And they say the folks with the big pockets should be doing this. And Walmart has called on the Bangladesh government to get more aggressive in doing inspections and to phase out, close down unsafe plants. And Bangladesh, is so eager to attract business, it's probably not going to become a very tough policeman.
We want to thank you for being with us, Stephen Greenhouse, in the New York Times. We'll link to your article there. Thanks so much for watching this report from Democracy Now!, your daily independent global news hour. We don't accept advertising or corporate funding, but rather rely on donations from viewers like you. Please make your contribution by visiting democracynow.org. We need your support today to keep bringing you this hard-hitting, in-depth reporting.